Okay, here's a little tutorial on helping you use Google Sheets to make data tables that IB will jump up and down about. They'll love this stuff. So um, let's start with formatting our column headers. For this lab, we were doing distance and time. We'll go distance. And what IB wants you to do is include the symbol S for distance or displacement and the units slash the units, so in this case centimeters, and the uncertainty. Here we've been doing plus or minus, which is totally acceptable, but it seems like they also like to use the symbol delta to mean plus or minus. Unfortunately, in order to get a delta symbol, we have a little bit of a convoluted way of doing it. You have to open up a Google Doc, which allows you to do symbols. And then if you go Insert, Special Characters, and then you can, in this window here, just type delta. Delta, and there's your delta. Click on it. Now you've inserted it into your Google Doc. Now you highlight it. You try to highlight it. Here we go. Highlight. Copy it. And then you can paste it into your spreadsheet. Paste. So I can go my uncertainty of displacement equals 1/10 of a centimeter. Great. There's a nice header. And then time. Let's see, that's going to be t in seconds. And my uncertainty in time is going to be the uncertainty of the stopwatch for these measurements, which is 0.01 seconds. Great. And then I'll start putting in some numbers. I'm going to pause here while I do that, and then we'll talk some more. Okay, so I've added some numbers here to start my data set. Notice that, actually this is not done so well. If my uncertainty is to a 1/10 of a centimeter, then my measurement should also be to a 1/10, right? Now notice when I do this, that 0 seems to go away in Sheets, and I can fix that really easily just by highlighting my numbers and using these two buttons here to get the correct number of sig figs that I need, as few or as many as I want. Those I want to go to the 1/10, and actually these, I want all these to go to the 100th place, right? So let's add one more, and then your zeros don't disappear. A really cool function with spreadsheets is that it'll do a lot of math for you. So notice that I've got my 5 trials here, and now I want to find my average. Let's say I want to put my average into this cell right there. All I have to do is go over to this little function window, click average, and highlight the cells that I want to get the average of and hit enter. And it does it for me. I can do the same thing here. I can go over here and click average, highlight the cells I want the average of, and boom, it does it for me. And it's got to the right number of sig figs. That looks good. Now, if I want to find the uncertainty of my average here, that's where I have to take the range of values and cut it in half, and that'll be the uncertainty of this value. So I take my largest, which is 1.05 minus 0.99, that gives me 0.06. So here my uncertainty is actually 0.03 seconds. Yours will be larger than that. Human error when using a stopwatch should be greater than that. I look over here and I have 4.12 down to 3.90 for a difference of 0.22, which gives me an uncertainty here of half of that, 0.11. Okay, great. So this is kind of how you work on creating your data tables. You'll notice also that in the instructions, it asks you to also do a graph of distance versus time, but also distance versus time squared. Again, a really simple way to do that. If this is going to be time squared, then all I have to do, I want this average squared. So with a spreadsheet, if I enter an equal sign first into a cell, then what I'm doing is I'm telling the computer that I want it to do math for me. So then I click on the cell that I want it to do the math to, and in this case, I want to square it. So I go up caret 2, squares it for me, and I can do the same thing here, equals this cell, caret 2, and it squares it for me. Notice it's horrible with sig figs, so I can go back and mess with that here. I'm going to be down to 3 because these have 3. So that one's got 4 actually. So there we go. Okay, so that's kind of how you organize this stuff. Before you want to cut and paste this into a document, another thing that's not bad, Notice that the lines here are all light gray, and if I paste them into a Google Doc or a Word doc, those lines will not appear. If I want them to appear, I have to use this button right there, and I just click on it, and it, it darkens the lines so that I'll actually have lines when I cut and paste this into a Word doc. So let's see, I can highlight what I want, copy it, I go back to my lab report, that is my Word document, and I paste it, and voila, there's my data table, and then I can do things like data goal number 1, the versus time, and something like that. So that's kind of what you're going to be working on. Now, you can play with your spreadsheets in terms of formatting and editing. You can mess with all the stuff up here in terms of adding colors and changing fonts, and that's fine. Another kind of tool that's nice in terms of just style and organization is the merge cell button, which is right there. If you have a bunch of cells that all should have just the same value, you can turn that into one cell. And then, there you go. And you can work on formatting this. You can get it centered and centered if you need to. And I'd have to play with it a little bit to figure that one out. I think it would be here for horizontal alignment. And then I know there's somewhere else for vertical alignment as well. Maybe that's right there. Look at that. Vertical alignment, centered. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so just play with this stuff. Remember, you always have the undo button if something weird goes wrong. You do something that goes wrong, you always can back up and undo what you have done. All right, have fun.